The Heart of It.
Roy West kicking in towards the centre. Roy
A distinctly Tasmanian conversation.
I can feel what it will be like when Tassie plays his first game, and I just...
Lynch gathers, he's got loose men everywhere, but he decides to have a pump shot, and it's an absolute ripper! 200 goals for Peter Hudson. What a fantastic effort.
How did he do that? Bear kick finishes off in style.
Up towards half forward, Stewart flying over the top. Oh, pulled in a beautiful mark.
Well done from Scott. After all, Shredder's got the first goal. Has it done?
Nichols has had the big ruck with it. Oh! Close.
Welcome to The Heart of It. I'm Alistair Nicholson. My guest today took the long route to the AFL, but would ultimately play in 2 grand finals, among the best players in both of them. Penguins' Robbie Fox grew up in what he describes as a sporty family, just a few hundred metres from the local football ground, basketball stadium, athletics track and golf course. He enjoyed football but never realistically thought he was on the path to the elite level. After a State League premiership with Burnie in 2012, a move to Melbourne for university opened up new opportunities and new possibilities. Robbie and I recorded this conversation prior to him signing with Tasmania in the VFL. In this episode, he recounts his non-conventional path to the AFL, the aura of Buddy Franklin, the thrill of playing in grand finals, and his love for Tasmania.
What a smother by Fox! It was mid-air, it was gigantic, just when Melbourne was surging.
Robbie Fox, thank you very much for joining me for a chat today.
No worries, good to be here.
So you grew up on the northwest coast of Tasmania. Can you tell me a little bit about what life was like on the coast, the types of things you used to get up to and the environment you grew up in?
Yeah, I love the northwest coast. But I guess when I grew up in a pretty sporty family. Mum and dad really, fostered an active lifestyle. So growing up with a twin sister and an older brother, we just played all sports, little athletics, basketball, soccer, cricket, you name it. Mini league, that was good. But then I guess it wasn't probably until I got to high school. And then I made some schoolmates at Morris Regional College, and that's when I started getting into footy a bit more, I guess. And that's where probably my love of football sort of come from, back in year 9 playing school footy. And even those winter nights you have to drive down to Queenstown to play school footy. But yeah, sort of back to your question, what I got up to in the Northwest Coast was pretty much just sport. Most nights at the basketball stadium, playing. You get home from school, you just walk down to the cricket nets, you go to the basketball stadium, and you just play sport with your mates. And that was my childhood. So it was just sport. And I guess Penguin and the Northwest Coast really fostered a good active lifestyle that you could sort of do. I could leave my front door, I could walk up to the golf course, play golf, basketball, you name it, ride my bike to school. So yeah, to answer your question, it was pretty much just any type of sport is what I did when I was younger. Which is very common for Northwest Coasters. And correct me if I'm wrong, but your house in Penguin sort of was, walking distance to the golf club, the athletics track, the high school, the basketball stadium, is that correct? Correct. Yep. It was so close. So it's actually 200 metres from the new footy ground now. So it's pretty remarkable to think. I used to ride my bike through the bush to get to school, and now all that bush is gone, and there's a AFL quality ground sitting there right now. You talk about the golf club at Penguin. Now the 7th hole is a bit of a magic hole, an island green in the middle of a dam, about 100 to 120 metres it plays. But I need the truth, Robbie, because I don't know anyone who grew up in Penguin who hasn't dived for golf balls in the Penguin Golf Club dam. Are you guilty of that offence? I haven't, but my mates used to all the time. You go up there with a couple of mates, go for a hit, and you get to the hole 7 and you just go diving for golf balls. Lovely little course, isn't it? But Penguin had all those great facilities, didn't it? As you say, it promoted that outdoors lifestyle where there was always something going on and something to do. So when you talk about going through the bush where the footy grounds are now, you originally were at Penguin Primary School, were you, or Penguin High School for a while? Penguin Primary School, so was there till year 6, and then I went to Marist. Yep.
And was that a fresh start for you? Did you know anyone else who was going? I actually went down a similar path, albeit 1 year later. I managed to dig my heels in and get to go to Penguin High School for 1 year, but my parents moved me on after that, and I went to Marist as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I knew a few people from basketball. I had Zach Hislop and Brody Marchek through basketball. I played against them and then in the Northwest team. So I was actually quite excited to get to Marist because even a few of my Penguin primary friends were going to Marist at the time as well. And my brother was there. My parents went there. So I didn't really dig my heels into stay at Penguin. I was pretty keen to get to Marist and experience what I had to offer.
Yeah, the relative big smoke of Burnie, mates. And you talk about your family having, a fair sporting bent. Was there any other sort of talented sports people in your family?
I think mum, growing up, she played over 400 games of Northwest basketball. She was a state netballer. My sister went to Oz camps in basketball, and then my brother is a basketballer as well. So nothing at huge levels, but we're a sporty family. And mum wasn't a drinker or anything, so she just played sport when she grew up. So she sort of instilled that into us as well.
Now, when you got to Marist College in Burnie, I'd imagine there was a very well-known coastal football identity as one of the assistant principals there, Richard Lakeland, very involved in his footy and did some recruiting for Fremantle back in the day as well. But was he involved at Marist when you went through, and what do you remember about that experience?
He was. He's a great man. It's quite funny when you get to school, from year 7 to 10, you don't listen to your teachers. You don't, even though you knew that what they were talking about with football, you sort of just mucking around with your mates and not really listening. But then you get to year 11 and 12, and I guess you feel like it's a privilege to actually listen to people like Richard Lakeland. We had Joe Pearson, and a few other teachers who knew what they were talking about. So we had pretty amazing mentors at our doorstep, and then for facilities as well. To go out there, have 2 footy grounds, and then Marist was such a hub for, I guess, AFL players. We had Luke Russell and Mav Weller going to the Gold Coast at that stage, and I guess they knew by, year 10 they were going. So there was a lot of hype around them at the time, and I guess being a year below, you sort of just looked up to those boys and try to follow in their footstep, but you didn't think it was ever going to happen because these boys were stars, and I guess at the time we were just playing local footy and school footy.
Yeah, I reckon Eli Templeton might have come out of the school at a similar time, didn't he? And went to St Kilda for a while.
Yep. Yeah, played with Eli. He was 2 years below me, but then you had Lockie Weller coming through, and then Ryan Gardner, and then you had a lot of other boys who were a year above me, like Damon Smith, Casey Radford, who star players better than us, but then they all played Mariners and whatnot. But just unfortunately didn't get picked up.
So what sort of a footballer were you back in the day? Because your path to the AFL is sort of quite different to a number of people. How serious and focused on footy were you at that stage?
No, I wasn't serious at all. As I said before, I got to year 9 and I was playing school footy, but I was horrible. Sitting on the wing, didn't get a touch, just running up and down. I was pretty skinny as well. I had blonde tips and didn't want to go near the contest. Still don't. And then the Coastal Sharks back then was like the Northwest training centre, and all my mates were playing, the Hislops, Mycheks and stuff. And then they said, "I come along, you'll be better than half these players." I'm like, "No, there's no chance I could make the Coastal Sharks team." And went along, made that team, and that's how I sort of got my foot in the door with the Mariners program. But I still wasn't a good footy player. I was predominantly basketball all the way through, and it probably wasn't until year 12. Like I always played on my wing. And I couldn't play on my wing. I was just running up and down because I was a good runner. And that's, if you're a good runner back in the day, you just go on my wing. But I wasn't that good. It wasn't until I moved to half back in my year 12 year for Burnie Dockers. And I thought, this is all right. Like could see everything in front of me, play on a man, and did all right. And it wasn't until probably year 12 when I was like, oh, geez, I'm actually having a decent year. Still didn't make the Mariners national team that year, but I thought, football could be for me. So it probably was year 12, and then I sort of moved away to uni after that.
Okay, where'd you go to uni?
RMIT in Melbourne, but lived at Latrobe. So moved across, not knowing anyone, but it was an unhealthy life for a year. It was the funnest life.
Yeah, living it up.
Yeah, didn't have a footy team, so I got to March, moved across, and hadn't even signed for a footy team. And the Hislop boys, Zach, Jacob, and Tom, were all playing at Aberfeldy in the EDFL.
Yep.
Coached by Mal Michael and Damien Peveril, so two ex-AFL players. I was walking into this place and thinking, like, I thought I was just coming here to play some local footy, and two ex-AFL coaches. There was 5 ex-AFL players in the team. Played with Tim and Woody before he got drafted as well. Like, we just had so many good players, and I'm thinking, I thought this was local footy, and I was living in uni, and probably didn't take footy too seriously, and in and out of a team at Aberfeldy my first year. Made the grand final, lost, and then I get a phone call from Peter German from Coburg, and he's ringing me thinking to come down to give VFL a crack. And I'm thinking I can barely get a game at Aberfeldy. Like, I don't think I can play VFL. So I left that for a year, moved off college, luckily. So my lifestyle was a lot healthier, got back into shape, party less. And then had a pretty good year for Aberfeldy, but we lost the grand final again, choked again. So it was 2 losses in 2 years. So we were thinking, we'll stick together and try and win that premiership as a team. And then I got a phone call from Peter German again and telling me to come down. And I was like, thanks, but no thanks. I want to win a premiership with my mates. And then it was a year Matt Prittis won for Brownlow.
Yep.
And in his speech, he thanked Peter German when he coached him at Subiaco, and pretty much said that he wouldn't have made AFL without Peter German. And my dad was watching it, and he was like, mate, you have to give it a go. Like, it's too good of an opportunity. You got Peter German ringing you to come down to Coburg. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So it was a tough decision to leave my friends at Aberfeldy and go to Coburg. Didn't know anyone. So my first year at Coburg wasn't a great year. I was in and out of a team. I was injured. My first VFL game, I had 3 touches, and I was like, this is just way too hard for me. This isn't for me, thinking about going back to Aberfeldy. And that stage, they were 12-0, looking like they were going to win the premiership. Got to the end of the year. I was like, I played a few good games, but nothing special. And it wasn't until an AFL team rang up Coburg and pretty much just asked, who's Robbie Fox and what's his deal? And when I heard that, I was like, you're kidding me. An AFL club is calling about me. And so I was like, this is amazing. I was in shock pretty much. So I grabbed our fitness coach and at the time, and pretty much just said, I just want to get back to my strengths, which was running, because playing local footy, you didn't run, you just went and lift weights, and you're pretty slow at the time. And I got back to, my strengths was running. So we had a massive preseason, set me up really good for my second year at Coburg, and moved into the midfield, and played some pretty good footy for the first half of the year, and then started getting some interest and talking to AFL clubs. So it all happened pretty quickly. I guess the AFL radar thing, it happened in a space of 6 months, thinking of like, I'm just a local footy player, to all of a sudden there's AFL attention. And I still felt like I wasn't even a footy player. I still, even though I was playing footy, I still felt like I was a basketball player at heart. And here I am having conversations with AFL clubs. So
that's extraordinary.
It all happened pretty quickly.
That is amazing. I knew of the Peter German connection. I assumed it went back to his Burnie ties. I remember Peter German coaching and playing at Burnie and kicking torps out of the middle of the ground on wet days and skidding them through for a goal in those grand finals in the TFL back in the day against Clarence. So you're probably too young to remember him at Burnie, are you? Were you aware of that connection?
No, my dad knew of Germo and coaching at Burnie and playing at Burnie, but I had no idea. It's probably a good thing I didn't know too much about Germo before getting there, because he can give a pretty good spray, and very good spray. So he liked me, luckily, but some of my teammates have some great stories.
So just rewind a little bit then. So before you go to Victoria for university, did you play in 3 consecutive grand finals for Burnie, including a premiership in 2012? And that team had Jason Laycock, Luke Shackleton, Andy Lee, I think, might have been playing as well, and then Brody Myercheck, one of your good mates.
Yep. It was in 2011, so it was 2 grand finals. 2011 against Launceston, we lost that one. And then in 2012, we played Launceston again and beat them in that one. And Eli was in that team, and then we had the Walters boys, Rudy Barrett. So there was plenty of gun footy players. And
Big Rowan Baldock was playing, wasn't he?
Rowan Baldock, yep, Clamps. Before he went to kick 200 goals at South Burnie. Yeah, we had a good team. But it was a good time.
So, and then talk to me. So you go to university and you're clearly thinking career, are you? You sort of, football will be a thing on the side that I do for fun with my mates. But what were you thinking career-wise? Where was Robbie Fox headed, do you think?
Yeah, I was a little bit lost. I thought maybe just growing up on the coast, I thought it was two options. It was either to be a physio or teacher. So I did exercise science my first year, and did that for a year and hated cadavers, and I hated working on dead bodies. So I was like, this isn't for me. So I transferred to teaching. So yeah, did teaching, but I guess I never thought about football was a long-term thing, but in the back of my mind, I was like, how cool would it be still to be in Melbourne around the footy culture, potentially maybe one day play VFL, but I wasn't really thinking, well, my actions wasn't really shaping to my thoughts, because my thoughts was, oh, that'd be cool one day, but my actions showed uni lifestyle, playing local footy. So yeah, it was pretty much just uni and having a bit of fun and playing local footy.
Yeah, so once you realise there's interest and sort of piques your interest, and you want to get as fit and as fast as you can, and you're playing good footy with Coburg, that then translates into getting drafted by the Sydney Swans. So what is that moment like? This all seems like such a whirlwind. What's it actually like when your name is called out in the draft?
Yeah, I was quite nervous. As I was saying before, I had a few conversations with some AFL clubs. I thought Gold Coast were the most keen. They had multiple conversations, but it was in the Jago O'Meara trade, and they got all these high draft picks. So they had picked, I think, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So I was like, well, I'm not going top 10, so there's no chance I'm going to the Gold Coast. And Sydney didn't show much interest. It was a very casual chat. So the draft come on a Friday night, didn't get picked up. Didn't think I was going to either. And then had to wait for the rookie draft on the Monday morning. Monday night. So I was like, okay, I'm going to set my laptop up in bed, watch the draft, because it's on the computer. It goes really quickly. And if I get picked up, great. If I don't, I'm rolling over, going to sleep, and just forget about it.
So were you solo? You had no friends, no family around, anything like that to celebrate if you did get picked up?
I had one mate downstairs who just happened to be there because he lived across the road. But yeah, and then my name got picked up, and it was almost like a shock, still couldn't believe that I saw my name and I'm going to Sydney Swans. And that's 4 o'clock on the Monday. And then by 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning, my car's packed and I'm driving to Sydney. I picked up Ben Ronk, who also got picked up, and we're driving to Sydney, and we get up there. I'm moving with some of my teammates, and on Wednesday morning, in training.
So how did picking up Ben Ronk come about? Did the club say, we've got this other bloke in Melbourne, can you give him a ride, or did he ring you? Or
Well, he played a couple of games at Coburg as a underage. So I knew of him. So I had a car and I wanted to take my stuff up. So they're like, oh, well, if you know Ben, pick him up, I'm away, and away we go. So it was a pretty cool car ride. 10 hours of just pretty much friends and media calling. So it was good fun.
Never forget that game he played against Hawthorn. I think it was a Friday night where he kicked an absolute bag. Ben Ronk, it was an unbelievable performance from nowhere, really. So from Sydney, who did you take your first phone call from when you got drafted?
It was Dennis Carroll at the time. So he's a welfare guy, ex-Bloods legend.
Yep.
And yeah, he met us actually at a cafe in Essendon at 6 a.m. just to go through everything to set us up. So he was amazing. And then I can't even remember if I got a phone call from anyone, but it was just plenty of text messages. And then Kinnear again, and then saw the coaches, was it Wednesday morning? So, but yeah, once you get drafted, you get all the text messages from Josh Kennedy and Luke Parkers, Kieran Jacks, and you're thinking it's pretty crazy. And you're sitting there trying to write the right response back. You don't want to sound too keen, but you don't want to sound under keen. So it's all going ahead at the time.
Who did you barrack for?
North Melbourne.
Did you?
Slightly.
Yeah.
Dad's a massive North Melbourne fan. So growing up until I was about 10, I was Collingwood, then moved to North Melbourne. And then when Luke and Mav played at Gold Coast, I sort of followed Gold Coast a little bit. So I guess I didn't have a strong team I was going for, so it makes it easy now that I go for Swans.
Yeah. What were your first impressions when you arrived in an AFL environment? Do you remember being struck by anything?
Yeah, I was a little bit, I was just shocked. I had no idea how an AFL club was going to run, the morning preparation, what training, what the schedule was going to look like. So everything was so new to me. But then I got to Sydney, and I think the lucky thing about Sydney was it felt like a local club. It felt like I was just a local footy club that you're getting paid full time. And then I think even Horse said that, the lifestyle up in Sydney, you're out of a footy bubble. And then, yeah, you get to just live your own life and you get to play footy. So I guess that was a big thing. And then probably just the culture you walk into straight away. they really talk about it. It doesn't matter if I was pick one or last pick in a rookie draft, like everyone is equal now. Doesn't matter the picks. You sort of went. But yeah, it was a pretty amazing experience just to get here.
Yeah, for sure. And you've mentioned a few of the star players around the Swans at the time. Another guy called Lance Franklin was there. Was the aura obvious the moment you met, buddy?
Yeah, no, that definitely is. Like you have these other great players who, you sort of looked up to a little bit, but it wasn't until like Lance walks through the door and you have this rock star sort of feel about him. He was definitely a rock star up here. But yeah, you sort of had that imposter syndrome the first couple of years, and you still probably looked up to them your first couple of years, but then you start realizing the human beings, they're your teammates, and you just sort of they just turn into as I said, your teammates. And but I guess the whole way through, Lance is always that rock star.
Where were you when he kicked his 1,000th goal?
I was playing twos, and I just done my hemi. I was playing in Footscray, just done my hemi, and we're leaving the airport, and he's just kicked his third. So we missed everything.
Oh,
so on
no.
the plane, we're trying to refresh our phones and screens,
Buffering.
and then we land in Sydney, and we see, the last quarter's still going, and like the quarter went for over an hour. And we missed it. So my girlfriend's wife was there at the time, and she saw it all, and I missed it. I was on the plane.
Oh, no. I'm sure you watched it in the aftermath, but what a moment in the history of Australian football, the scenes of people invading the ground and, as you say, the game being delayed and your teammates going out and walking back around and getting into the ground again.
Yeah, people, I think Ramps had a bite of a meat pie on the ground. There was people putting their parents' ashes on the ground. There was just so much going on. I think like Buddy was starting his run up and people were still running on. So imagine if he missed. Like I don't know what was going to happen.
So you yourself have played in big games too. What's the build up to an AFL grand final like, particularly when you consider how, you arrived in the AFL almost from nowhere in many respects?
Yeah, it's a dream. It's when I guess in 22 when we beat the Pies by 1 point. One, that was a pretty special moment to play against Brodie. So it was sort of our mates were barracking. There was a win-win. So one of us was going through to the grand final. And then the week leading up into the grand final was just like the whole buzz and the hype, not just for yourself, but like your family and friends. You just can't believe that you're playing in the grand final. Grand final is probably one of the biggest days of Aussie calendar. And growing up, that was, you've got your mates together and you're watching grand finals. So to actually be there, and then you fly to Melbourne, you do the grand final parade, which was good when we got onto the utes, but it was that year when we were on the boats. Remember that?
Yes, yeah, the float.
The float. So that was a bizarre experience to have an hour on the boat, pretty much waving 100 meters to people. But but that whole day and build up was amazing. But it was actually the night before. Like I didn't even know. I knew I was playing in the back line and everything, but it wasn't until the night before that Horse told me I was playing on Jeremy Cameron, and that's when I got nervous, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's probably going to kick 10 goals on me, and on grand final day, it's going to be embarrassing, and everyone's going to hate me, blah, blah, blah. You go through those thoughts. But then, yeah, the game starts, and you get there, and it feels like just a normal game until after the Australian anthem happens, and the whole crowd just roars, and it's deafening. You can't hear anything. You're like, okay, how good is this? And then the start of the game, it's just a blur, like everything, like every little bounce, like the crowd's up for, and then you just have to try and get into sort of that flow state. So it was an amazing experience. It was just annoying that by the second quarter, we sort of knew that the game was over, and it was sort of a bliss moment. Even in the last quarter, we were down by 80 points, but you weren't sort of focused on the game anymore. You were sort of just taking in the scenery and the surroundings. So it was actually quite a nice moment just to take it all in, but it was really disappointing.
Yeah. That anthem moment, you did reference it briefly, but can you sort of sum up how emotionally and what impact it has on you? I mean, you're standing out there for so long and you just want that game to start, I suppose, and then there's just that, as you say, that roar. What sort of experience does it give you personally being out there in that?
Yeah, it gets you going, of course, but I guess it wasn't like you coming from Coburg and then you're playing in the grand final. You've played in some big games to get there, so you understand the build up. But everyone's different as well. You try and keep pretty calm. Like it's almost you almost need to disconnect a little bit until the ball's in the center circle and you put your mouth guard in and you're like, okay, now it's time to go. Because I guess if you buy into the week too much and the national anthem and the warm-ups and the hype, it's just like it's tiring, and then you get to the game and you're just exhausted. So I guess the biggest advice and what we've learned over time is just try and block it all out, let your friends and family build up in that hype and enjoy it all. But they also told us, like, if you enjoy the hype too much, like that's all well and good, but you won't remember it if we lose the game. Like
Yeah.
it'll be a distant. So just focus on the game. And unfortunately, half our players didn't focus on the game, and we didn't perform too well. But it is true, like just to try and focus on football and not build up in that hype.
So how did 2022 then help you prepare yourself for what was coming in 2024?
Well, 24 and 22 were very different. In 22, I was a regular member playing some good football and led into the grand final, whereas 24, I was played all year and then got dropped for that first final against the Giants. And then after that dropping, I had a week where I probably wasn't in a good headspace, thinking, oh, our team was dominating, I'm going to miss out on a premiership, and you start spiraling. But then we have a mindfulness coach, Emma Murray, and I did a bit of work with her, and we sort of spoke about good things are coming and having that belief of good things are coming. It could be in 1 week, could be in 4 weeks of grand final, or it could be in 4 years. You just don't know how certain events are going to shape your life, and you don't know if anything's good or bad. It just is. So then in that 3 week block, I was just had that mentality, mindset, and it was quite funny because Taylor Adams was in the same boat as me, and we were both in the same. So we went to Bronte Beach every morning. We were off our phones and off the media, and we were just focused on how good's this. We were going to the beach, swimming at Bronte. I'm not sure if you've swum at Bronte.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. And we're thinking, like, life's not too bad. We're here swimming at Bronte for a living. So whatever happens, happens. And then, so we we're going through the same sort of situation, but then we we're sort of fighting for that last spot as well. And then, I got the nod to be the sub at the Port Adelaide game. And then for the grand final, it was still like touch and go. And I was sitting outside of Horse's office. I was like, okay, I played a good grand final. I feel like I'm in a good headspace. It's a big ground. It suits me. I needed to go tell Horse that, you've got to put me in. I need to play, blah, blah, blah. So I was there waiting for him, and you could just tell he was in there with the physios, and he was storming around. I'm like, okay, I'm really nervous now to go talk to Horse.
You were going to go and make your case, make your pitch.
Yeah, I was got nothing to lose. Like, if he didn't pick me, then, well, I wouldn't see him. He would fly to Melbourne and go to the grand final. But he was, and I saw him calling Millsy and a few other players, and they had to make the tough call of not playing one of our injured players. And then he saw me, and I walked in, and he told me I was playing, and which was nice. So I didn't have to push my case and say anything that I probably regretted. But
did you have it mapped out in your head? Did you have a really clear idea of what you were going to say to him?
I think I had a few key points, but it's more just, I think I was just going in with some passions of saying that, I've played a good grand final. I've played in big games before. The big ground suits me. I'm in a good headspace, and I was just going to push my case that way. And then I sort of pushed my case, like, if anything, I'm the perfect sub because I can play any position. So I had a few things in I'm not sure if that would have helped anything, but I was ready to go. But I'm not sure if that sort of helped, because all week I wasn't thinking about the grand final. I was like, wonder if hopefully I'm in the team. I didn't think I was going to be in the team. So then that Thursday night, ringing mum, dad, and a few friends saying that I'm in was a pretty nice and special moment.
I can imagine.
And then it was, again, get to grand final day, and just, again, off all apps, anything to do with football, I was just off it. So I stayed present, didn't want to, because sometimes that's the thing with football, you sort of, if you go on Instagram or different AFL websites and stuff, they'll build a story, which is all well and good, but then as a player, you sort of buy into that narrative, and you start thinking that things aren't even real, so you just stay off it and be present. So I did that. I felt like I did that pretty well. And then, got to 24th, it felt like I was in a good headspace again. And but same thing, got to that second quarter, and Brisbane were a very good team all year, or maybe not the start of the year, but then they were very good after round 6. And again, it was a blur, and it was just like, oh, not again. And get to halftime, you're thinking, you still felt like there was a bit of a chance, but you just like, oh, not. It's happened again. We've let down.
Yeah, it was
you
40
feel like
odd points, wasn't it?
Club, but then you also know that all those friends and family and people who are watching the game, all they want is a good grand final, and you're like, oh, now you've let down the country.
Well, I think your friends and family want to see you play well too, don't they? And that's absolutely what you did. You were one of Sydney's best players in that grand final. There's no doubt about that. Did that, as much as it was disappointing, give you a little bit of personal satisfaction?
I guess it gives me the belief that 22 wasn't a fluke. So I had 2 good grand finals. Sort of makes me feel like, yeah, the first one wasn't a fluke, and that when there's big games in the future, hopefully the coaches sort of believe in me that I'm going to deliver. But yeah, I trade that all in for a win, of course.
For sure. Just quickly touching on Tassie footy, obviously the announcement that Tassie's going to have the 19th licence in the AFL, and some fantastic appointments have been happening lately. Obviously Brendan Gale and also Grant O'Brien from your neck of the woods are very important members of setting up the club into the future. How did you feel personally when it was announced Tasmania was going to get an opportunity to be in the AFL and AFLW?
It was so exciting. I think I wore my Tassie jersey to the club that day. Everyone knows up here how passionate I am about Tassie, and I don't actually have any other Tassie members up here. We have one of our media girls is from Tasmania, but
Michelle Cooling.
Yep. So we're only 2. So we're very passionate Tasmanians, and we're always pushing Tasmanian news. And then a couple of weeks later, she brought me a Tassie T-shirt, so I wear that around now to the club. I've got my Tassie beanie I wear to the club. So I'm just trying to find that right line that I'm not pushing the Tassie stuff too much in the Swans network. But I reckon it's amazing. And personally, through my journey and what I've seen, like a lot of great Tassie players sort of felt like they had to leave after they were 18 because they had to go to Sanford or VFL. They felt like they had to change their whole lifestyle just to have a shot of, rep footy. So now having a Tassie team and the leagues below it and stuff are going to, really improve for it. And I think it's amazing for the state and what it's going to bring to it. And I can't wait.
Yeah,
I really can't wait.
No, it's absolutely awesome and so exciting. Just in rounding off, what do you think it was about Tasmania that helped shape you, help become the person and the footballer you became?
I guess it's my family as well. My parents, as we spoke about, were very active, so I love my sport. But then I guess the community side of a small town, you immerse yourself in the community. No one's bigger than the person next to them, so everyone shows humility. I guess you have an active lifestyle and a small community aspect of a small town, and I'm just biased as well. I just love the Northwest Coast. I love Tassie. I can't wait to be back there. So we're very passionate about Tasmania, and it's pretty cool when you're like watching Tasmanian players or anyone you meet, and the minute you know they're from Tassie, you have a little special bond together, and you take interest in their life and you want them to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very common right across all Tasmanians, no matter where they live around the country these days. All right, last question, Robbie. Now that you have declared that you're returning to the magnificent island at some point, where is your favourite place to visit in Tasmania? If you were to tell your teammates or their families they're going on a trip to Tassie and there is one spot they have to go, where would it be?
Well, I'm biased, so I would say the northwest coast of Penguin and Ulverston, but if they only had one spot, I'd tell them to go stay at Bicheno and then go down to Wineglass Bay and spend, if they had a few days, Bicheno and Wineglass Bay. I love it. Get to Devil's Corner, Milton Winery, the hike-in, the oysters, like you can't beat it.
Great recommendation. Great chat. Robbie Fox, thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Robbie Fox. Our chat was recorded mid-season, a frustrating year with injury that saw him fail to play an AFL game. Unfortunately, Fox was delisted by the Swans at the end of the season after 105 games for the club. But the Swans' loss is Tasmania's gain as Robbie has signed on to play for the Devils in the VFL. A huge coup for the club. I hope you enjoyed listening to Robbie's story. For more episodes of The Heart of It, be sure to download and subscribe wherever you get your pods.